Welcome to another episode of Backed or Busted. I'm your host, Rob McCallum, aka Rob McZob on Twitter. And if you have a project you think you'd like us to check out, just email us at crowdfundingspectacular99@gmail.com or hit us up on our Facebook page as well, facebook.com/backed or busted crowdfunding. Today, we're going to take a look at Sinister Harvest. It is a project on Kickstarter in the publishing section. So let's jump over there right now and see what we can learn about this project. So here we are on Kickstarter, and as I said, we're going to take a look at Sinister Harvest. This is a rare horror fantasy art book, it looks like, 1919 Orchid Garden. So this title is not all that great. That's the first thing I'll mention, but let's see what we can find out more about it. This is the second book documenting historic macabre artworks of Der Orchideen Garten, Orchid Garden, the legendary 1919 horror fantasy periodical. So this is cool. This is almost 100 years ago of artwork in the horror fantasy genre in Germany. That sounds pretty cool to me. Let's see what else we can learn from it. Now, this project doesn't actually have a video, so we can't really dive deep into that and talk about that. That would be the major strike I would have against it right away. Now, I should mention, there is 9 days to go as of this recording, and there's 177 backers, and they were only looking for $1,300 here, and they've got over $9,000. So clearly they've got a following, or they've hit on something that does work. But these are the projects I really like, and I always like to look at the projects that are successful more than the ones that aren't successful, because usually the ones that aren't successful at first glance, you can figure out what doesn't work about them. Even if you don't have an understanding of crowdfunding, you'll get a really good sense of what doesn't work about them or why it's off-putting. But the ones that do work, like this one, where it's almost got 9 times of what they're looking for, I really like to look through those ones most, because you can really tell what works, and there are a bunch of things you can tell that don't work. So there's no reason why we don't have a video here, because it could show some of the artwork from this second book. It could have the creator introducing himself. There's just, even if it was only 30 seconds, something is better than nothing. It's a missed opportunity in my mind. Let's scroll down the page. Now, this is a project that Kickstarter love. And when they elect and designate projects that they love, that goes in a special email that goes out there. You get to have this little seal of approval, if you will, on your page. And that sometimes, I think, will help a project alone, just when people see this, because it means maybe they've been vetted a little bit more, or somebody on the staff is saying, you know what, this is worth backing. Maybe give it a second look if you're on the fence. So let's go through the campaign. So this is just more artwork. So this looks like probably the cover. Sinister Harvest artworks from Der Orchid Garden. Like we said, Orchid Garden 1919. Thomas Negavoven. Orchid Garden is a legendary German supernatural horror magazine published from January 1919 until November 1921. With your help, we will reprint the artworks from this rare and important magazine. The books are full of odd beasts and creatures, so this is cool that they've included this. That's really nice. Founded 4 years before the iconic American magazine Weird Tales, launched in March 1923, Orchid Garden is considered to be the first fantasy magazine. So that is pretty important. Published after the First World War, when Germany art was at the height of its decadence and debauchery, the magazine included a wide selection of new and reprinted stories by both German language and foreign writers, ranging from suspense and terror to crime and eerily erotic. Okay. While literary content is historically significant, many of the stories have been reprinted in multiple places across the last century. We have focused on our attention on what has gone undocumented, the incredible artworks illustrated in these stories. So that's really important. So basically they're saying a lot of the stories have been reprinted out there, and so this won't be the kind of only place to find them, but the artwork has not been replicated out there. The artworks range from peculiar medieval etchings to occult wood blocks to expressionist visions, all balancing the romantic and the gothic with hyper-elegant sophistication. The artworks in this volume were cutting edge of style in 1919 and influenced fantasy art for decades to come, which I would agree based on some of the things that I've seen already, which is really cool. The Orchid Garden Sinister Harvest will thoroughly cover the entirety of the magnificent macabre illustrations published in issues 7 to 12 from 1919. So, as we saw up here, this is the second book documenting the artwork. And if we go back down here, we're seeing basically the artwork that was published in issues 7 to 12 is what this book is going to focus on. There's postcard sets. We'll be producing postcard set in conjunction with this book. Each set has 5 images. We're getting into somewhat reward territory. You can see that images right there. Deluxe 11x14 letterpress prints. So there's some letterpress prints, which are cool. it is really just neat to see some of this artwork. This is really nice too. I like that. This is a Death Blossom Deluxe enamel pin, which is why it's got that kind of 3D effect on it. They want to showcase that. Add-on. So here's the first book, issues 1 to 6. You can add that on. And then you get kind of the different award stuff. Why we need your help. So this is always important, and I always like to put this up front. Make your case for why your project is cool first, and then get right into this. These goods right here. For nearly 20 years, Century Guild has devoted itself to building and presenting an archive of important artworks that define the origins of popular culture. We prepare the materials by pre-ordering a copy and spreading the word. You can help us make documentations of this very rare, very obscure magazine come to life. Orchid Garden gets mentioned frequently on blogs at Fantasy Convention, at certain full moon cauldron gatherings, but the same low-resolution images get shared over and over again. The book is an opportunity to explore the publication in depth with high-resolution scans made from a pristine collection. So that it didn't really say why they need your help. It just says why it's important. And that's unfortunate. They should say that, without your help, we won't be able to do this. It costs a lot of money more than what we can do because we're a non-profit organization or something of that effect. It didn't really ever get to that. So Century Guild is an institution founded by Thomas Negovin in 1999, located in LA. Just kind of go through this. Limited edition books published by Century Guild are desirable for the academic content to find quality and collectability. Many of our out-of-print volumes are commanding high prices, but we are strong believers. So they're pitching to the collectability of it. Strong believers and supporter of crowdfunding community in the way it encourages creations. Thank you for your support. This important academic endeavor by helping us create a gorgeous keepsake book. Just no risks. Books are guaranteed to be delivered. So that's really nice. And clearly they have a history of being able to do that. He's created 29. I basically want to take a look at that right now and see what we can figure out here. So this is the one that we're doing right now. Make 100 Fritz Lang Dance of Death Fine Art Print Lost Film. So that's cool. Aurora Practical Effects Retro Time Travel Creature Feature. Make 100 Revisit Alphonse Buka Mystical Edition print. So he's done a lot. Here's the first Orchid Garden. A gold wax cylinder recorded without electricity. So there's a lot of historical pieces. He's got one canceled project here. He's done some of the Make 100 things, which is a Kickstarter initiative. A lot of German history pieces he's really delved into. And there's another staff pick here, which is nice. So clearly he's created a bunch of these projects, which is, good for him. And I only saw really one canceled one. And, just because somebody has a canceled one or a project that didn't get funded, that doesn't mean that it was bad. It could have been bad timing. They could have been up against similar projects. Something could have happened in the background that made it basically impossible to do. It's never a huge strike. It's worth kind of noting if you're worried about what you're trying to invest in or donate and back, I should say, in terms of Kickstarter. If you're worried about what your dollars are, it's just another thing to kind of look at. Let's take a look at the rewards. So 23. So there's no dollar pledge. There's nothing. $23. You get the Sinister Harvest book documenting the artworks from Orchid Garden in those pages. It's 5.5 by 8.5. Sinister Harvest book plus postcard set, postcards plus pins. So basically, they just keep adding for $10 more. So $23 plus whatever the shipping is. You get the book plus $10 for postcards plus another $10 for the pin. 2 books documenting. So that you get books 1 and 2, which is really kind of cool. Diabolical Fantasia and Sinister Harvest. So that's books 1 and 2. So they're $25 each. Then you basically add the books, cards, and pins to that. Single letterpress package. I'm not really inspired too much by these rewards, but it is kind of what it is, Your name or a loved one thanked on the title page, which is nice. You receive 10 books, 10 pens, 10 postcards set and share with your friends. So this is actually a really good deal if you can make a gift out of it for someone who might really like it. That's a really good deal right there. Both books, letterpress, dedication. So what's the dedication here? Because this is the 1,000 one. I always like seeing what the most expensive one is. Because it usually gets me the most excited about the project to see where their imagination could be. 10 books and postcard and pin sets with one very special edition. You will write a book dedication to be published on the title page. Wow, for anyone you choose. We hope you write this if you like, and also reserve the right to refuse or edit what we consider inappropriate content. Author will sign books if you like, and any stretch goals will be provided in quantities of 10. You also personally receive a special thank you on the title page for making this book possible. As a special thank you, free shipping worldwide. So that's nice. You get 10 books for $1,000, plus postcards and pin sets, and you get to basically have a dedication early on. So that is cool. Let's count how many rewards they have and see if it's overkill. It felt like overkill just kind of going through it at a glance. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So it is on the high end, and I think some of it is the tchotchkes that they're including. Again, if I was doing this, it would just be the book and maybe the book and postcards, and then both books, and then both books and postcards, and that's really it. There's not a ton going on here. The dedication thing is nice. The thank you is nice. The price is a little high for that. There's ways to bring this way down, and they could probably get away with like 5 to 7, just book or 2 books. So that's 1 and 2 rewards respectively, and then postcard versions of those. That's 4, plus the dedication for 1,000. That's 5. And maybe thanked on the title page, that's 6. So there you go. That's probably what I would do right there. Okay, I'm going to jump over to KickTrack right now and see what we can learn from the trending. So here we are. We're at 9197, 700% of the goal. They're trending towards $16,000. Again, we're in Sinister Harvest. Look at this really nice casual curve here for crowdfunding. It's really nice. There is no big sudden blips or bloops or anything that is alarming, like, oh, what happened on that day? So they have no tags, so that's unfortunate. And I can't even scroll down further beyond here because usually that's where the press is, but there's really nothing to showcase. Let's go to daily data and see what we can find out here. So big first day. They funded on day 1. They were looking for 1,300, like I said. They doubled it with 3,000 there. And they've done fairly well ever since. They've always made over $100 a day. They've always had a lot of backers. So $3,000 on day 1 from 71 backers. They've never not had backers at all. Comments per day are there. We'll take a look at that when we get back to Kickstarter. 9 days and 2 hours to go as of this. Let's see what the projection is. On the high side, 19.6. On the low side, 13.8. I usually like to try to guess where it's going. I would probably say the low side at 13.8 with 9 days left to go. Actually, you know what? I'm going to say it's probably going to be 15,000 actually, based on some of the data, and that's just my secret little calculation off the top of my head based on what I'm seeing here. If you want to know more about that, reach out to me. I'll help you figure out what you need to do or tell you where your project might end up based on the data that I can see. Let's jump back over to Kickstarter and let's break down any updates. Oh, there's no updates. So it was just launched January 10th. I'm not a huge fan of no communication with the fans, especially when you get, you hit your funding goal. That should have been like an easy update to say thank you. Not impressed that that's not there. Frequently asked questions, there's none. Again, there are always at least 3 questions that you can populate in this section for your campaign. So there's no reason why that wasn't populated. And then here we go. So a couple questions. Is there a way to add on to get both pins without getting both books? As I already have the first one. Shipping to Canada seems to have gone up significantly since the last project. Is there a reason? So we have the creator here who's a 29-time creator, as we saw on this thing, and he's also a super backer. Thank you for your support of Orchid Garden Books. To answer your question, both pins will be available add-on post-project survey. Shipping rates increased to cover a rising cost of packing material, plus USPS postage increase effective on the 21st. Thank you. And this is actually a different person using the account. This is Chandra, not Thomas. So that's interesting. I'm sure he's busy. Let's take a look at the community. So we have 177 backers. 135 are from the U.S. So I'm surprised there aren't more German fans. I mean, there's 5 backers from Germany. But I guess fantasy and horror is just huge in the U.S. And that's where most of these people are coming from. A lot of returning backers, not so many new backers. So we call that a domestic campaign. Let's go back over to the campaign page itself. I honestly like this a lot. I'm curious about those shipping costs. So before I can even consider being a backer, I'm going to have to investigate to see what that is. And I'll be back in a second to see what I can do, if I can do anything. Okay, so let's just take a look at this. Right now, I'm located in Canada, but I also have a residence in the U.S. So right now, it's $5 shipping in the U.S., plus the cost of the book. So 23 plus 5 is 28. But if I go to look at other places, like Canada, for example, for the book, they're saying it's $15 shipping, which is basically the cost of the book. Now, right away, that means I'm kind of not interested. And if I go to the cost of 2 books down here, which is this pledge right here, and I look for Canada, where I'm located currently, it's $17 for 2 books. Now, I'm sure the packing material, as they say in the comments over here, shipping rates increased to cover rise in the cost of packaging materials, plus USPS postage effective on the 21st. I'm not saying that the USPS rates haven't gone up, but they haven't gone up that much. I mean, if this book is really 5.5 by 8.5, that seems really, really high for shipping. And because the books are guaranteed, I'd rather just try to find it after the fact, to be honest. So because the shipping costs seem astronomical in relation to what the goal is, and you know what, maybe this is not even their fault in terms of this, because they obviously feel it's something that they can't control and it's out of their hand and it's a necessary evil. Because of the shipping costs on this and the cost of the items, I can't back this. This is completely busted. It's just a little astronomical for me to believe that shipping 1 book to Canada from the U.S. is $15. I could have it sent in the U.S. for $5, which they're offering, and then have somebody else send it to me for less than $10. I know, because I've done this before. So there's something going on here. I don't like when people try to hide a little bit extra cost in the shipping price. That should be reflected in the actual reward price, not the shipping price. Shipping should be the cost of shipping, and that's it. And I understand if they're trying to say that shipping is shipping materials as well, but I don't like that. That's a little too much sticker shock, and unfortunately, it scared me off of doing it. If the book was $30 instead of $23, because there was an extra $7 and shipping was $10, I'd probably actually do it. But because there's a little bit of, I don't know, it feels like there's some foul play at work here. And I'm sure this guy's a really nice guy, and these guys know what they're doing, and they're obviously very successful, but it's too much for me. So that'll be my look at Sinister Harvest. I was just back for a quick second, and I wanted to do a little bit more investigating. Now, I told you before that the shipping price for $15 to Canada for 1 book seemed astronomically high, and $17 for 2 books from Kickstarter was really high too, based on my shipping experience. So I went to see if I could find out to where I could get that first book, since we know that it's done and this is the second book. So I looked on their campaign reward page for that first book named Diabolical Fantasia, and this is The Art of Orchid Garden Volume 1, soft cover. And when I put my address and everything in, sorry it's blurred out, but it is to Canada. When I put my address and everything in, look at this, delivery confirmation for $10, not $15. You can see over here, subtotal $29 for that 1 book. Again, whatever the price is, $10 for shipping for the book. That is a big mistake, and I'm so glad that I busted this campaign before I even dug deeper. It was just bothering me that much that I had to stop and do a little bit more digging, figuring that this book would be available to purchase through their site. And I'm glad that I busted them on that bogus shipping charge. Avoid this campaign and these people. If you really want the book, then buy it from their site after the fact. They don't need your help in advance. I'm sorry to be that way, but do not advertise one price on Kickstarter and another price on your site when it comes to something like shipping. I understand that items may be discounted over time. Maybe you're trying to run a sale or promotion and that price can fluctuate, or you're asking, say, $30 for the book up front and later it becomes $20 or $25, but don't mess with the shipping price when it's cheaper on the site later on. If you've got a project that you want me to take a look at, just message me at crowdfundingspectacular99@gmail.com or hit us up on our Facebook page, facebook.com/backed or busted crowdfunding. We'll see you guys next time. I'm your host, Rob McCallum, aka Rob McZob. Until then.